In this video, I'm going to show you how to document counseling notes in noteCounselor, how to view those notes, and how to edit those notes. So from your counselor dashboard, if you look at the top, you'll see these tabs. We're going to select this tab here, Counseling Notes. And what you'll notice is that everything I've entered recently kind of auto-populates down here, and it is choosing notes from this date range. I can change this date range if I want to, but this is just showing me what I have recently typed in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to the right and select this button, Add Counseling Notes. In this first tab is where I would select the student. It will actually just start populating. If I type in letters, it's going to narrow it down and auto-populate. And then once I see the student, I just can hit enter on my keyboard or just select that name with my mouse, and that name will show up then in this field. I'm going to tab over to the next field. You could also just navigate with your mouse. And I'm going to start typing in the name of the code. And by code, what that means is the actual service you're providing. And this is a list of all of your direct services. You can change these to reflect what you do, but it does come with some standard codes that are already in there. The next tab is date. It already has today's date in there, so I'm just going to leave that alone. The next one is time of day. And what that means is that is the time during the day that you saw the student. This information is useful to me so that I know I'm not getting the student out of the same class every day. So I'm on a block schedule, so a lot of times I'll just put a number here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll know, that I can make sure that I'm not seeing that kid multiple times in a row out of third block. Duration in minutes. So that's the amount of time that you spent providing that service in minutes. The next field is session type, school days versus non-school days. And the reason that is there is because one of the things that noteCounselor does is it calculates the amount of time you spend providing services versus direct services versus indirect services. That's really big in our state to get our 80% direct services, and that's really big with ASCA as well. And what I found in these calculations is that if I was having a lot of in-service on days that weren't school days, those were kind of skewing my percentages of my direct versus indirect. So this allows you to select a non-school day if you don't want it to interfere with the calculations for how you're spending your time during school days. This section here is where you would actually put the gist of your notes. So this is the part where you're using this as a memory aid or to help you keep track of how your services went with that student. This is the part where you're putting down stuff that you might need to see later for your own self, things that you don't want in the student's record. So I might say, moving down from here, the next thing on here says, click to add follow-up note. What that means is if I click this, this student's name is going to appear on a list that I have of kids that I need to follow up with. So it's a good way for me to go back and remember who I need to see. And I can put any note here that I want to, and that's going to show up on my follow-up list. So it's basically like a to-do list. If I click this, the student's name will be on my to-do list, and I can add a separate note here. If I wanted to, and that'll show up on my to-do list. And then the last section here is before session performance and after session performance. This is a way that you can keep data on how effective your services are with your students. So a lot of times if I'm seeing students individually or in small group, I might ask them to just do a really quick before and after in my office. I just have little slips of paper and they give me a rating of how they're feeling before and after. And I can document this here, and then noteCounselor will start to keep track of that data so that I actually then have some before and after data that I can show about what I'm doing. A lot of times as counselors, it's hard to really show that data, progress data of how you're doing with kids. So this is just one way that I've incorporated that into noteCounselor. I'm going to now click Submit and New. And that's going to submit the record that I just put in there, and it's going to start fresh at the top of this Add Counseling Notes page so that I can just keep entering notes. So let's say for this one, let's say I saw 2 students for this one. And let's say we had a mediation. It was today during lunch, and it was 30 minutes. I'm putting my note in there. It was a school day. I'm not going to follow up. I didn't take before and after data, so I'm just going to submit. And now I'm back to this screen here. And you'll see that the things that I just entered are showing up. And if you look at these top 2, this is my mediation that I just entered. So that was a 30-minute session. And I had 2 names in that data entry field. So what noteCounselor does is it divides that time up equally between those 2 students. And the reason it does that is because since I'm documenting the amount of time that I'm spending on direct services versus indirect services, if I put 30 minutes in for each kid, it would look like I spent an hour doing a mediation, but it was really only 30 minutes. So when I'm doing any kind of group service activity, I put all the names in and let noteCounselor divide it up equally for me. And what you'll notice is that the actual text that I wrote in the note is exactly the same. It just duplicated that information for those kids. Now, a lot of you probably do classroom guidance, and I have a slightly different way that I document that. And what I've done is I put the name of some teachers' classes in here. So let's say I went to Mr. Smith's first block. So I have a student name called Mr. Smith's first block. And that way I can keep track of which lessons I provide to his class. Let's say that I did this lesson, I completed it. I know I don't need anything down here, so I can just go ahead and submit. So that saves me from having to select 20 kids every time I go into a classroom. I don't actually need to document on each student's note that I went into their classroom. Let me show you what I mean by that. So while this screen is showing me what I have done recently, and this screen also lets me filter by name, it doesn't show me maybe the whole history with that kid. So what I want to do is go to my reports and go to active student counseling notes. I select the name, and again, I can just start typing in the name there, and then I hit search. And while I did have this lesson that showed up on my counseling notes tab because it was recent, I actually had a lot of things in the history with this class. Now let's go to a student. I'm going to type in this student's name, and I'm going to click the search button. So this is showing me all of my history with this kid. However, it does not show me the fact that he was in Mr. Smith's first block, because I don't necessarily need to know that for this individual kid. This is just what I need to know about my individual and small group sessions with this student. Now, remember when we put in the performance data? If we select this, and you have to hit search again, it is going to load the performance data before and after for this student. And what it's going to do is, for every time I have before and after data for that student, it's going to show me a calculation, an average before and after, and it's also going to show me percentage growth. I could print this if I wanted to, and it's going to pop up into another page in a printer-friendly way, and then I just send that to my printer. And now let's just take a quick look here at our follow-up list, because I do believe we put somebody on our follow-up list. Here we are. Here's our direct service. Yeah, Bubba. We put him on the follow-up list today. Let's say that I no longer need to have this with him, so I can just delete it, and now he's no longer on my follow-up list. Now, let's say I realize I've made a mistake and I need to edit one of my notes. I'm going to go back to this tab here, Counseling Notes. Maybe I put in the wrong date for this lesson in Mr. Smith's class. I'm going to select this pencil. Now I can change the date. I could change really anything in here I wanted to. And update. And now we see that my changes have taken effect. So that is how you would add direct services, that's how you would view your counseling notes, and that's how you edit your counseling notes.